Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. No one is your friend, no one is your enemy, all men are your teacher. One of her advocacy, no other than Miss Galilee Bistline. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Galilee, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Gal. That's what people call me. And I'm the mom of two toddler boys and married to my best friend. I was born and raised as a fundamentalist Latter-day Saint, famously known as the FLDS, and had a pretty good childhood, I would say. I fell in love with my husband 2020, and we got married, and then had two beautiful sons. And in 2022, then we suddenly had FBI show up at our door. They broke in. They took all of our pictures, journals, electronic devices, phones, computers, things like that. And that was a pretty traumatic experience, but it carried on. They came back the next day. They took some of my cousins, younger girls, and put them in state custody. They took their religious books from them and did interrogations with them, and it made them pretty upset. So they ran away a couple months after that and called their sister and my sister. And so they went and picked them up. So then my sister got arrested and was charged with kidnapping because she went to help her sisters. And then, fast forward a couple months, we had them come again and break into our home while some of the mothers were kneeling in prayer. We had the children in the center of our circle, and they took three of the mothers and arrested them as well. So it was pretty dark. It was pretty bad moment when I came across the book by Florence Scovel Shinn called The Game of Life. And so they came and arrested my husband. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know why they were doing it. It naturally was pretty traumatic for me. But I was shown this book by a friend, and I started reading it. It brought me a lot of confidence, a lot more peace to myself for everything that was going on. But this whole thing was instigated by rumors, and some of those rumors came from people that we thought were friends, were coming in our home. We invited them into our home, and they would record us and trying to find something to, and then there was lots of rumors going around. And so, I would be told things like that I was brainwashed. And so I started doing like a lot of research on my own, like what is brainwashed? Why would they think that I was brainwashed, and come to realize that brainwash is simply to withhold information. So I just started finding as much information as I could and weighing it for myself. Anyway, I came across this book by Florence Scovel Shinn. It was a game changer for me. It was really what I needed. And there was also a book by Rhonda Byrne called The Power. That one changed my life. And I ordered one for my sister who was in prison, and she read it several times, and her bunkie borrowed it from her for a while. And a little while later, then her cellmate came up and gave her a big hug. She said, "You literally changed my life. Thank you for letting me take that book." So that was kind of amazing and kind of got me to the point where I had to make a decision. Like, what I stand for, what I think, without anyone else telling me, because this whole thing was instigated by rumor. You can't just take what people say and believe everything you hear. And I had to learn that the hard way. I had to learn how to decide for myself, do my own research instead of just believing what people wanted me to think. So, and
Miss,
that's what,
yes, Miss
yeah, that's why,
Galilee.
yeah.
Go ahead, Miss Galilee. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world.
Oh,
Yes, thank you so much. So let's talk about help others find confidence to trust themselves. What
right.
does what does it mean to truly trust yourself, and why is it important for personal growth?
So when I found that quote, no friend, no man is your friend, no man is your enemy, every man is your teacher, it really resonated because you have all these rumors going around and it caused all this damage. And then you have the people that are trying to tell me that you're a victim. You're a victim of all these different circumstances. And I had to come to the realization that I can decide what I am. I don't want to be a victim. And so it's that's my choice. That is my decision. And these people were supposedly friends and that were coming in and instigating these rumors. But we sure learned a lot from them. And so you can't really trust what people tell you. And so no man is your friend, no man is your enemy, but you can sure learn a lot by what they're saying. And so I learned for myself to just take a step back and decide what I think, not based off what anybody else thinks. And also what gives me peace. I was like, what brings that peace to my heart, and stand on it and don't let anybody change it.
Nobody will change it for sure. How can someone begin to build self confidence if they have struggled with self doubt for a long time?
I would say start with, like what I did, start with what brings you the greatest peace. If that brings you peace, whether it's a person, a book, or whatever it is, then focus on that. Think about that and do your own research. Don't take what people say to you. I mean, yes, take it into account, but do your own research. Go and research it for yourself on things that people are telling you. Talk to people who are being accused. Don't just listen to the person that's accusing. Hear both sides of the story. And then once you have come to that conviction of what you believe, then stand on it and don't let anybody sway you.
What are some common barriers that prevent people from trusting their instinct or judgment?
I would say peer pressure, worried what people might think is a huge one for me, or was a huge one for me. And also, you have people that, come and they'll be all sympathetic and say, well, you're just a victim, you're just in this hard circumstance. And then you start to, feel like maybe they're your friend and maybe, you're seeing it wrong or something like that. And so you instead of falling for that, then ask them questions. So I had someone come to me and tell me, well, you're just brainwashed, you're just a victim, you just need to just, accept that all these bad things happen. When I was fighting for my husband and my friend and my family, and they were just like, my husband, they said a whole bunch of things in court that were just outrageous. They were lies and wrong. And then my sister was talking to someone, and they were like, how can she sit there and just, how can she still love him after hearing all that? And I told my sister, it's because I know him. I know him better than anybody on this planet. And he is where I find peace. Why would I want to change that just because somebody said some things about him, and just because everybody around me seems to not like him? I know the truth.
The truth will set you free for
Yeah.
sure. Can you share a personal story where trusting yourself led to a significant positive outcome?
Right. Yes. So when I first met my husband, um, there was a lot of controversy in the community. There was a lot of people that did not agree with it, didn't want it to happen or whatever. And so I had some family that I was very close to. And I went to Colorado. I worked remotely, and I went there once a month to the office there. And I went to my job one week, and I came home, and they had moved everything out and had moved out. And that really was hard for me because I had a good relationship with them. So I thought I really loved them. And it was a really, really tough experience for me. And that's when my husband came, and they say, a true friend walks in when the rest of the world walks out. And I was seriously doubting myself, wondering if I should, give up my relationship with my husband and go with him. But when he came, then I, it did. There was just no question. It was it was my safe place. It was where I found peace, and it was where I was, where I wanted to be. As much as I loved him, and I told them, they thought I'd follow them. Relocated to New Mexico, and they really thought I was going to follow them because we did have a good relationship.
Miss Galilee, how does past failure impact someone's ability to trust themselves, and how can they overcome it?
Yeah, failure can, if you let it, like if you think about it too hard. You just have to, and I know it's kind of cliche, get back on the horse again, because so the first time I went on a roller coaster, then it was up in Utah in Lagoon, and it was the first time I'd been on a roller coaster, and my sister was with me, and she was like, now go ahead and scream if you feel like it. I'm like, okay, I just thought this was, we head out on that roller coaster, and I couldn't help myself. I screamed. And then when we got to the end, my hands were all stiff and everything, and I was just like, I am not doing that again. No way, no way, no way. And but she taught me to go on again, and the second time I actually really enjoyed it, and I was way more relaxed and everything. And so, it's hard to get past it. And I know that a roller coaster probably isn't the greatest example, but when something scares you or something bad happens, it's really hard to get past it. You just have to do it again, and you'll find that the second time it's okay. You find out that our thoughts actually have a massive impact on what it is, like what we think about it. I had a friend tell me one time, he's like, I'm like a lion at the door of my mind. I will guard my thoughts like a lion. So,
Miss Galilee, You helping others to find the confidence and trust themselves. What are your short-term and long-term goals?
So my long term goal is to, of course, have my husband home again and help others to see what he really is like, see the truth, you know. Um, so short term goal, I'm working on a book right now, also, and also want to start my own podcast, and I just want to be able to give people that confidence, like the confidence to trust in themselves and do their own research and not worry about what people around them are saying, not worry what people think, because if it gives you peace, that's all that matters. It's what we're here for.
Yes, people don't care what people say about you. If you have the talent or something else to share to the world, go, go, go.
Right.
And
Yes.
what will your piece of advice for those people out there having these low esteem for themselves?
I would I'd recommend a book called The Science of Being Great by Wallace D. Wattles.
Yes,
I listened to that book and I literally, it just listening to it, you feel like you are so important. You feel like such a great person because he describes it in such a way that's impressive. Out of all the books that I've listened to, I was pretty impressed with his.
definitely. And thank you for that recommended book, Miss Galilee. And what's the connection between self compassion and trusting yourself?
Self compassion means you give yourself that space, the same space that you would give others. Give yourself that same space to learn and grow and make mistakes, even, and learn from them. And then, and that self confidence will grow from that because you learn from those mistakes. I had a mentor who would say, who would talk to us about just being honest about even what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and he would give us the space to tell him exactly what we were feeling, whatever we were thinking, to, and if it was wrong or if we felt like it was wrong, all we had to do is talk about it and find out. My husband was the same way. I felt like I could tell him anything, and it also made it so that if there was, you know, little things that we didn't really particularly like about each other, once we talked about it, it was so small, it just went away. It literally went away. All those little insecurities just went away.
How can someone rebuild trust in themselves after experiencing a major setback or betrayal?
So I have, like my sister, she went through, when she was put in prison, it was really, really traumatic for her because we grew up in a very close knit community. Um, she there was no drugs, no weapons, no anything that she had ever, that you would see in prison for sure. And it was an extreme culture shock for her. And so she would call me up every night and say, just tell me something that will make me laugh, because she couldn't think about anything too deep. She couldn't think about anything that would, you know. And so we would just talk about little things when we were little that happened and get her laughing, you know, talk about just funny things that we'd seen or whatever. And so, and she had access to a tablet and she'd actually go watch little comedies and stuff, anything that would make her laugh and get her mind off of all the bad things that were happening around her. And so I would begin with something like that. Just get your mind off of the bad and just whatever it takes to get your mind off of that and more relaxed. And then once you are, somewhat relaxed, like it's going to be okay, then give it another go.
Yes. Miss Galilee, how can parents or educators help young people develop confidence in their own decisions?
I would let them do their own research, just like I was allowed to do my own research about things, and that they might question and be open to questions, encourage questioning things, have them question everything, and let them come to like I read a book by Dr. Jordan Peterson, The 12 Rules for Life, and he talked about having a client come in. He was a therapist, and she would be like, I think this bad thing happened to me. And he would be like, now what? How can you think that something happened to you? Whether either it did or it didn't. But he says, he says, I could have told her, well, you brought it on yourself with all of these negative thoughts and negative things you were doing. And he says, no, I would have been right. He says, or I could have told her, it's not your fault. You're a victim. And I still would have been right. And he says, but I decided to do neither of those. He says, I just sat back and I let her talk it out. And he says, and I watched as she came to the conclusion herself. She decided what she needed. And that's generally what the young people need, is they just need to be able to figure it out for themselves, what they need. And I would suggest just being open with them, let them say whatever they want to say. And if it's offensive, give them that space and just say, well, I can't say that I agree, but I hear you.
What are some signs that someone is starting to trust themselves more fully?
They're very confident. And they don't mind saying what they think. They don't mind expressing their opinion, and what other people say to them doesn't affect them. They can be in a crowd of friends and or whatever, and if everybody's going after, you'll just see them more and more taking the lead. In fact, being like, well, this is what I think, and this is how I am, and if you guys don't like that, that's your right.
Definitely. So, Ms. Galilee, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in 5th season, abstract poetry in 2nd season, and my book 101 review in 5th season too. And Comedy 101 in its 2nd season, and my Food 101 in 5th season as well. Geography 101 in 4th season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in 3rd season, and Movie 101 review and Music 101 in 4th season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its 1st season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Galilee, how can helping others build their self-trust create a ripple effect in communities or workplaces?
So I had a sister that came to me one time when I decided to marry my husband against all the controversial things. And she came to me and she's like, you have no idea what effect you're going to have on the people that look up to you. She's like, because like in our community, there had been this, in the FLDS community, there had come this directive from the leader who said there would be no marriages for a while. That's why there was such a controversy. Because I decided to, and I felt it in my heart that that's what I needed to do. And so she comes to me and she's like, what are you going to do? All these young people look up to you, and you don't want them to go do the wrong thing just because you are. And I said, I don't want them to do what I'm doing because it's what I'm doing. It's like every single person needs to figure that out for themselves. They need to listen to their own intuition, trust their own gut, and not do it because somebody else is doing it.
Very well said, Miss Galilee. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support any projects that you are doing right now?
So I'll be starting my own podcast, but I haven't yet. I'm still trying to get it together, and I'm working on a book as well.
Yes, and for your book, when will be published?
Hopefully by the end of the year.
Yes, looking forward for that book, Miss Galilee, and kindly please come back and let's talk about it on Book 101.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Galilee Bistline, because if you support her, for sure, the more and more books to come, for sure, right?
Yes.
And for sure, more and more episode of the podcast itself. So, Miss Galilee, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.